Hello, friends, and welcome back to Elaborations with SchellingtonGrin. My name is Ava, and I am your Gothic Witch Big Sis, here to help you navigate the layers of shadow and self with heart, humor, and just a little bit of magic. As we step into these darker months of the year, we are invited to release what no longer serves us, so that we can make space for what does. The veil is thinner, the nights are longer, and it is the perfect time to look honestly at what we have been carrying, especially when it is disguised as light. So today we'll be diving into something that's been sitting on my heart for a while about those so-called spiritual communities and manifestation spaces, the ones that start off feeling very high vibrational and loving, but end up becoming toxic, controlling, or even manipulative. So, if you've ever joined an online group or followed a spiritual teacher, or simply found yourself swept up in wanting to be part of a like-minded community that eventually left you drained or doubting yourself, this episode is for you. As always, feel free to grab your notebook or open that Notes app, and if you are commuting, please stay safe while you're traveling. Without further ado, let's dive right into today's episode. Let's start by talking about the false light trap. False light in spiritual communities is often very sneaky. It wears the costume of enlightenment, with words like alignment, manifestation, vibration, ascension, and so forth. But instead of empowering you, it subtly starts to own you. You'll see this in communities where everything looks picture perfect and Pinterest worthy. The messaging is super shiny and the people seem endlessly positive, until you begin to question something. Suddenly, the light begins to flicker. Maybe you're being told that you're out of alignment. Maybe you're being told that you're manifesting wrong. And maybe your anxiety, your grief, and your humanity are treated like flaws that need to be fixed instead of things that you can integrate into your wholeness. For me, this lesson came wrapped in the language of love and connection. In a place of emotional vulnerability and extreme self-doubt, I met people who spoke out about energy, intention, and self-concept, all things that I still believe in. But the deeper I got into this manifestation community, the more that I realized how easy it is to mistake charisma and perceived connection for compassion and true foundation. I was searching for belonging, and I found myself surrounded by people who claimed to be about empowerment, but were actually feeding off of others' insecurity and devotion. And that is the thing about false light. It doesn't look dark until your eyes adjust. And by the time you realize it, you're usually too emotionally invested, overextended, or simply feeling guilty for even questioning anything. And if spirituality leaves you feeling smaller, silenced, or dependent, that's not spirituality. That's sales with a spirit Halloween robe on. So how can we spot these false light communities? Let's start by talking about the red flags that aren't always obvious when you're in the thick of things. Number 1, those pay-to-pray communities. When access to truth, alignment, or community comes with a price tag at every turn, that's not devotion, that is monetization of knowledge. A healthy teacher or space will share freely, at least in part, because spiritual growth is not proprietary. Number 2, the guru syndrome. If one person positions themselves as the reigning authority on manifestation, law of assumption, law of attraction, or other forms of spiritual practice, and they perpetuate themselves to be the only one who really knows anything, and you start to feel like you can't trust your intuition without their approval, run far away. Because the point of a spiritual practice is to connect you to your own sacred source, not someone else's version of what source is supposed to look like. Number 3, the love bomb and shame cycle. At first, you are showered with validation, attention, and compliments from the leaders of the group and other members. You feel seen, chosen, and special. But once you step out of line or you simply start thinking for yourself, you're shamed, ghosted, or accused of being negative. And that is emotional manipulation wearing a halo. And it is also textbook gaslighting. Number 4 is toxic positivity. That high vibes only mindset sounds nice in theory, but when it turns into don't feel, don't think, and don't question, you're being taught repression, not peace. Real spirituality allows you to hold both the light and dark simultaneously so that you can integrate both into your wholeness. Number 5, no room for dialogue. I cannot stress enough that healthy spaces encourage criticism and constructive discussions. False light spaces label disagreement as resistance. And if you're not allowed to ask why, it is not a community, it is a cult of personality. Number 6, boundary erosion. If someone demands emotional intimacy, personal details, or even flirtation under the guise of energetic connection, that's not sacred, that's predatory. And your boundaries are divine, so I hope that you treat them as such. And finally, number 7, pay attention to your energy. If every time you leave a call, a meeting, or a chat and you feel drained, anxious, or confused, your body is trying to tell you something that your mind has not caught up to yet. And it's time to listen. So how can we protect ourselves and reclaim our power? Let's shift from warning to wisdom for a moment. Because once you've been through something like this, you'll learn discernment the hard way. But you also learn that it's not your fault for believing in the good that you saw in others. So, how can you protect yourself going forward? Number 1 is to trust your intuition always. If something feels off, it most likely is, because energy never lies. Number 2, keep your personal practice personal. Your connection to spirit, to God, to source energy, or whatever you believe in, never needs external validation. Number 3, do your homework. Research the people that you follow or invest in and check how they treat others, not just how they talk when it's got all eyes on them and cameras rolling. Number 4, look for reciprocity. A true community always gives back. It doesn't take your money, time, or energy without returning something. And number 5, stay human. You don't need to ascend out of your body to be divine, because your humanity is already sacred. And the more grounded you are in your truth, the harder it is for someone else to sell you theirs. And as we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with an affirmation, a journal prompt, and a reflection. Our affirmation is, I release what was built on illusion and return to my own light. My discernment is my protection, and my intuition is my guide. The journal prompt that I would like to leave you with is this. Think about a time where you placed your trust, faith, or energy into a person or community that didn't honor it. What did that experience teach you about your boundaries, your self-worth, and your spiritual discernment? And what would you do differently now, knowing what you know? And for those of you who are just beginning on your spiritual path, ask yourself this for a moment of reflection. How will I know when a space is right for me? And what does true alignment feel like in my body? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Elaborations with SchellingtonGrin. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Post it to your Instagram story and feel free to tag me at SchellingtonGrin Creatrix and let me know your thoughts. You can also find all of the ways to connect with me outside of the podcast through the Linktree link in the description. Remember, you are your own best teacher and you don't need to buy your way into enlightenment. Enlightenment is already at your fingertips. This has been another enlightening episode of Elaborations with SchellingtonGrin, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.